All right, welcome to episode 2 of Just Hanging with the Nosebleed Seats, joined by Eric Chiafalo and Zach Wolchuk. I'm Jared Sandler. We're going to talk Cowboys in a second, but first we got a bone to pick. Prior to starting, this is the second episode, so this is a new tradition, but, asking, hey, are you good? You good? Whatever, Eric and I. And Zach's like, Eric's like, Zach, you good? And I'm like, Zach, you good? And he's like, yeah. And then, he doesn't return serve. What's up with that?
Are you guys good? Are we okay? Is everybody ready?
Oh, so how do you do it? Now that you're put on the spot.
Exactly. He was forced to.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you guys are good. You're asking me if I'm good. So I'm just saying yes because I know you are. Eric, what did you do to your face?
Well, I'm rocking the mustache now. I don't know if it's appearing very well in the cam, but yeah, I shaved my face.
That is about as thin as I have seen it in the 5 years we've known each other.
I've gone this short before, but maybe this is as low as you've seen it. This is the first time I've really committed to the mustache, so I'm going with that right now. But yeah, here we are.
Is this an RJ thing? Is he kind of getting in your head a little bit?
No. This was what was this? No, I think this was mostly my wife. My wife was sick of me having the quarantine beard. Like, you got yours cleaned up, but it still looks sharp. You actually kept yours. Jared's is getting more disgusting by the second. And mine was getting to that point. And so I finally was like, all right, I will oblige my wife.
So big announcement, definitely going mullet and mustache, I think, for the final week of having all this craziness.
Dude, that is really good news. Thank you for sharing that. That's going to be awesome. So you could be like Joe Dirt for Halloween.
Well, I don't think I'm going to have that so we have family pictures that were rescheduled from April to June 20th, and so I've got to clean up for June 20th. So
that is so weak. That is such a reason.
What about holding up your end of the bargain? Any obstacle? Like, are you kidding me?
What are you doing here, Jared?
This is like Thanksgiving.
Okay, guys, if this was something that we did every year, then I absolutely would do that to commemorate 2020. But this is the first time since I was 7 that we've done family pictures, and it's supposed to be a gift to our parents. And so I can't. I mean, at that point, I've got to,
Oh, my
your
God.
Your parents don't like it? Your parents won't love you for you no matter what? I mean, I think you look more better than ever.
Oh, I agree, actually. I might keep some length in my hair, and I'm not getting rid of the beard. I'm going to keep the beard, nice and tight.
Okay. I like it tight.
Yeah, but I'm definitely I can't just be a caveman for those.
That's a bummer. But you're right. If it's supposed to be a gift, there is no good gift that involves your face looking like that on the gift. So I guess that's completely fair. I'm disappointed.
No, I'm disappointed too.
I'm not angry.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I'm glad that Zach wants to know how I'm doing. And Zach, I'm sorry. Can you talk so that you're on camera and show what you just drank out of, please?
What? This my Sons of Anarchy mug right here.
Move it over, more in the. Do you know how this?
It's still involved.
It's a gun mug, So this is what I drink in every morning. My little cup of Joe. Start the day off correctly.
Wow. All right,
dude. You are not badass enough for that cup, Wolchuk. You realize?
Oh, you and I both know I'm badass enough for the cup. Now I know you're lying through your teeth. You know that you shaved that beard for RJ.
Yeah, you do kick a lot of ass. And by the way, I miss you. Okay, these early mornings, these are no joke. All right. And, I miss being in the safe space with you. I mean that.
No, the feeling's mutual. I'm excited for Thursday and Friday though. I get Jared with me, and that's always fun. Although I'm nervous for Crunch Time, the game show, the DFW Sports Trivia Show. He waxed me 2 weeks ago. I think he was worse for you last week. So I'm going to have to get the answers from zero to be competitive in this one.
I think at this point, if we have a blowout tomorrow, I think when I'm there, I should just make the questions.
That's fine with me because zero doesn't have a chance. Poor guy's from freaking Utah.
Yeah, he is.
Well, I'll have one category, Utah sports.
Utah Jazz, and he'll get all that category.
Yeah, let's do that from now on because that was embarrassing. And tomorrow I'm actually going to do high-low on Sean and RJ for the very first time. They're bringing
that back?
Not.
So, yeah, they're bringing it back. I don't know if it's just for the day or what, but we're doing it, and I hope I don't get smoked again.
Ugh, really? I'm in the high-low crowd. I'm in the crowd that I know high-low is a very polarizing segment.
Are you on high blow?
What?
You think it high blows?
Maybe it's because I'm so bad at playing along in the car, but
hard. It's a
You're
difficult
competitive
game.
guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the more trivia-based ones. Anyway, all right. So last week we had a good discussion on what we want to see out of the Cowboys defense. For people who are new to this, which would make sense because this is only our second episode, we're going to have just one good sports conversation a week. Maybe it's something that's carried over from Zach and Eric's show. They're separate this week, so they've got some tension they've got to unleash. We'll usually try have some fun at the end. We'll see if we get there. Maybe we just had our fun at the beginning. But, Zach, you had an article on Bleacher Report that was of interest to you.
Yeah, so basically Bleacher Report put out the biggest scapegoat over the last decade for every team in the NFL. So, for instance, the Chicago Bears, their scapegoat was Cody Parkey, who missed the field goal versus the Eagles for them, and it cost them a chance to move on to the playoffs in the next round. So, for the Cowboys, I think you've got a lot. I think you have a lot of options here. And, we explored this with the Tolos and the Bleeders last night. And a lot of the texts that came in, you had Jerry for 25 years of mediocrity. I get that. Jason Garrett, really.
Mediocrity.
Don't back off. All right. This is my time now. You wait your damn turn just because you took your shirt off. All right. Just flexing on all of us. This is embarrassing.
I've never been this fat in my whole life. I look awful. Okay.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself, okay? I'm having issues here. Basically, Bleacher Report decided it was Rod Marinelli. And at first I'm thinking, okay, I kind of get the Rod Marinelli thing. And then they list the reasons why. And it didn't make some sense because the Cowboys had 3 really good seasons over the last decade, 2014, 2016, 2018, right? They advanced to the divisional round of the playoffs. And every single time they got eliminated, 2014 versus Green Bay, you can look at the Des Cottick game and say that it could have been that play, and it could have been Gene Steratore and Dean Blandino that would be the scapegoats. But the defense still had an opportunity to make a stop there with about 2 minutes and 11 seconds to get the ball back, and they couldn't do it. Aaron Rodgers on one leg went 9 plays, ran the clock out, and prior to that, he scored on 3 consecutive drives on Rod Marinelli's defense. So defense has a chance to possibly help win the game. They fail. 2016, Cowboys fall down 21-3 against Green Bay at home. They battle back. They tie the game late in the fourth quarter. All the defense has to do is make a stop, send this thing at overtime. Your offense is red hot. They can't do it. The amazing throw happens. Aaron Rodgers to Jared Cook. They kick a field goal. They advance to the NFC Championship game. Again, situation, Cowboys defense has a chance at the end of the game to try and salvage things. They fail. 2018, St. Louis or LA, right? The Rams in LA. They get absolutely obliterated on the ground, 273 yards with Gurley and big CJ Popeye's chicken biscuits. They can't stop them. Still, regardless how bad the offense was in the first half, they figure it out in the fourth quarter. They score. It's a one-possession game. Defense has a chance to make a stop. Fourth down, Jared Goff, bootleg, rolls out, converts. Boom, game's over. Again, Rod Marinelli's defense, a chance to make a stop at the end of a playoff game, and they can't do it to give the offense the ball back with a chance to win. So the reasoning there, I think I might have leaned more to Scott Linehan prior to this, but I can understand it. I mean, Eric, I was frustrated with Rod Marinelli all last season. I think his defense and his philosophy and his scheme is outdated. It does not work anymore. I do think the way that he teaches his defensive linemen to play the run on the way to the quarterback allows for people to get out of their gap. They don't keep gap integrity. They're caught rushing upfield. It allows huge running lanes, and it was a big reason why the Cowboys' run defense failed throughout his tenure here in Dallas, plus the turnovers. So at first I was thinking, Rod Marinelli is the scapegoat? I don't know. But the reasons listed, I think it is somewhat justified.
No, I'm sorry. Was that therapeutic for you, or because that was one of the most heartbreaking 90-second, like reliving some of the worst moments of my entire sports life.
It was, though, because I was able to point the finger and say, bleep you, Rod, and you're not here anymore. So now we can party because we got new staff. We got Nolan. We got Tom Suley, Spartan left and right. And we're going to beat the crap out of everyone in 2020.
Amen, brother. Amen. Okay, yeah, I think Rod Marinelli is a good one because the defense lack of turnovers over the last decade has been disgusting. But I mean, right off the top, I think you have to go Jerry and Jason Garrett. These are two guys that have had Jerry mostly. When you have as much power as Jerry Jones has, and you constantly fail at what the goal is, which is winning the conference, getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. You haven't done that in 25 years. If you are the single most person in control, then you deserve most of the blame. So there's no question that Jerry Jones is number one at the top of this list. And then I would probably say Jason Garrett, right? I mean, for a multitude of different reasons. His team's constantly underachieved. And situationally, it seemed like he had no idea what he was doing at the end of halves, at the end of games. Some of his decision-making, he refused to use analytics. He's on our station, the home of the Cowboys, with Sean and RJ saying, no, we don't look at the analytics stuff during the game. That's not something that we do. And it didn't feel like he did it much, Monday to Saturday either. So, yeah, for me, there's no question it's Jerry and Jason in that order. But Rod Marinelli and Scott Linehan, they're on the list, baby.
See, okay, so I don't disagree with Jerry. I don't disagree with Jason. I don't disagree with Rod. I think what we talked about last week with the defense is big reason for Rod, just like lack of willingness to adjust and being too staunch in his ways, which are outdated. Jerry, I think Jerry's loyalty was a big issue because it kept Jason in his place longer than he should have been, even though there were indications early on of Jason mismanaging games. And for those reasons, Jason. I don't know that I fully agree with the Linehan one. Not to say he, isn't any to blame for anything that went on. And obviously the Dak relationship soured at the end because, the perceived lack of trust. And maybe Linehan got stubborn, but I was in Michigan when Linehan was with the Lions. And I was there. They had one really good year, the year that they lost to the Cowboys in the playoffs. And the year before, Linehan was getting all the blame. And then that year, all of a sudden, Linehan got, tons of credit. And I just think that, with offensive coordinators, especially now when it's a much more offensive league, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I'm not saying Linehan's not to blame, but as far as the level of blame he got, I think it was probably a little disproportionate because we saw last year without him, there's still complaints because this has Jason's fingerprints all over it. And I'd also say that when you're around someone who appeared to be as stubborn as Jason, it probably makes you more stubborn. And maybe when you're not given the type of control and authority that you'd like, maybe, it leads you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. So I would say a part of the Linehan blame is definitely fair. I'd also say a part of it is a product of Jason and maybe the environment that Jason created or the hold he had over Linehan, because I've seen this guy be a really good offensive coordinator. And in 2014 and 2016, the Cowboys offense was really good. So I don't know. I just think that was he perfect? No, there's a reason he's not around. But I don't know that he deserves as much of the blame as he's received.
I think that's fair. I mean, I get what you mean because especially in 2016, people I think forget that Scott Linehan was a big reason why the Cowboys have Dak Prescott. He met with Dak a lot during that process, and the Cowboys, thank goodness other teams bailed them out of their own faults by moving up to get Paxton Lynch, and somebody else took Connor Cook, so they ended up having to take Dak. But Scott Linehan was a big reason why the Cowboys had interest in Dak Prescott. He liked him, and he tailored the offense to suit Dak's skill set, right, in 2016. They ran the ball a lot more with him. I think the RPO was a lot more prevalent. And I think the Cowboys have gotten away from that somewhat in the last few years, trying to make sure, hey, Dak's more of that pocket passing quarterback, right? So I do think at times throughout his career, Linehan's deserves some credit, but clearly 2018, it was the final straw. Like it was time to move on from Linehan. I do think you could also say, in terms of scapegoats, and this probably goes for any team, but specifically the Cowboys, but whoever's playing quarterback. I mean, Romo throughout his career was always the scapegoat. I think Dak Prescott now at times it has been made to be the scapegoat. And when you look at Romo, we're talking about the decade 2010 to 2020. Romo played with some awful teams. I mean, they've been rearing games right. And that you watch a Cowboy game from 2011, 2012, 2013, the defense that the Cowboys put on the field and some of the offensive linemen, I mean, holy cow, Romo was out there really doing it alone and had that team competing for the postseason every single year, which really speaks to how good he was. So, Romo got the flack. I think Dak Prescott is getting it now, and whoever is the quarterback after Dak is going to get it as well. It comes with the territory, but certainly the quarterback is always going to be an easy scapegoat.
I have a question. Who do you got, like, whose decision do you think it mainly was back in 2016 when they decided to stick with Dak and not give the reins over to Tony Romo? Who do you think was the main decision maker there?
I think it was Garrett. I think it was a Garrett decision. And I think that's a big reason why we've heard now that Garrett and Romo have a strained relationship. I mean, you saw that they were pretty tight going to do basketball games together. And since then, from people that I've spoken with that seem to have a relationship with either Tony or Jason, things aren't pretty between those two. Because, I mean, I know Romo kind of took it out of the Cowboys' hands by making that speech midseason after the Pittsburgh game. But I think it was probably, knowing the Cowboys, it's hard to say Jerry and Steven didn't have any say in the decision. But I do think at the end of the day, it was probably Jason Garrett more than anybody else.
Okay, so a few things. One, my understanding of the Garrett-Romo relationship issues is more that Romo felt like Garrett wasn't forthcoming and open in communication about the decision. And then on the other hand, I would argue that Tony's not always the best communicator either, especially when you consider that whole look at me, I'm going to hand the reins over to Dak moment was totally caught everyone off guard. And that wasn't communicated, which is fine. I'd also say, and I don't know that this entity is the biggest reason, but I'll never forget Cole Beasley came to our studio that year, and he was asked, not on air, off air, about Dak and Romo. And he said, without any hesitation, the locker room prefers Dak, especially the offensive players, and even more specifically the receivers. And that they like Tony, and Tony's a nice guy, but Tony was at the point where he wasn't connecting with guys from a leadership standpoint. And maybe it's because he wasn't as young and hungry as Dak, but a lot of those intangibles, which, how much of a quantitative difference do they make? I don't know. But as far as the belief of the players and what the players want, in terms of, Dak's connection and work ethic, let's make something clear here. No matter how much you like Romo or not, Romo is never going to be heralded for having some great work ethic. And I think that it was starting to catch up. And as he, I think a part of the work ethic is putting in the time with the players. And as they're starting to be more new faces, I think those guys wanted Dak as well. So I don't know how much of an influence that made. I would guess that Jason or leadership at least talked to some players and got their feedback on it. But I do think that's a part of it. I do think that the players, their vote would have been Dak. And the understanding I have based on that conversation with Cole Beasley was that it was not really going to be a close vote.
I think I agree. And sorry to interject here, but the other thing that I'd like to point out is if you watch the sideline in that Pittsburgh game, it was very telling to me. Dak makes that rollout deep ball, Des Bryant, they hit it for a touchdown. And, I mean, that game was so back and forth, hostile environment. You're wondering, when's the rookie going to crack? And in that moment, he still didn't crack. And they show the cut of Romo on the sideline, and you just read his mouth, and he says it's his time. And, I mean, I think that's when Tony Romo had the self-realization, along with the rest of the team, Jared, as you pointed out. This is Dak's now. I mean, he's got the reins, and there's nothing I can do about it. The train's left the station.
Yeah, and I disagree with it because we've never seen a rookie quarterback win a Super Bowl, and I felt like that team had the potential, but in my mind, history had told me it was impossible to do, and I didn't think it would hurt anything if Romo goes in and either sucked or gets hurt again. Putting Dak back out there, I don't think would have costed them whatever quote-unquote momentum you want to bring them. But I do respect the decision more now. I mean, it's tough as a coach to if the majority of your team, the majority of your offense, your locker room, your leaders want one guy, it's tough to go against that. So it makes that decision a little bit more like I respect it a little bit more now, even though I would say to the players, you're still, I mean, if you want the Super Bowl, your best bet is to go with the guy that is the veteran. And for right now, no matter what you want to say, at his best is better than your rookie that you have now. And I would say in one defense of Romo, in terms of him not connecting with the team, he got hurt in the preseason. And anybody who's been hurt before and has played sports, as soon as you get hurt and you start missing practice and games, especially an extended period like what Romo has, like I experienced, I tore my ACLs in high school. And you just feel, even though you're still on the team, you don't really feel a part of it. You don't really feel like you have much of a say anymore. The coaches start to treat you a little bit different, or you at least feel that way. Like, I'm no use to these guys now. You feel like you let everybody down. And so there is that natural disconnect that I don't think would have been there as much had Romo like been the starter and not gotten hurt preseason and just been the guy.
Hey, sidebar, and not that this justifies any decision that was made in 2016, but just curious. When Dak's career is done, who has a better career, Dak or Romo?
Man.
I think ultimately it's going to end up being Dak Prescott. And I think that's because the Cowboys have put a better team around him. They've constructed a better roster. I mean, you could say that the team in 2020 is a better roster than maybe Romo ever had. I mean, Romo had some good weapons, right, at receiver, but I don't know. You look at the three that Dak's about to play with CD, and if he's as good as we hope that he is, and Michael Gallup, who I mean, you look at the jump he took from year 1 to year 2, I expect another jump from year 2 to year 3, and Amari, plus Blake Jarwin, who we believe in can step up and be a pretty good starting tight end. And the offensive line, the cast of characters that he's about to play with, the best he ever had was 2014. We saw what Romo could do. But Romo played a lot outside of 2007. He played a lot of his career with a meh roster. I think Dak's got a pretty good roster right now, especially on defense. I think the Cowboys did a really good job of constructing what should be a competitive defense this year.
Yeah, I would end up leaning Dak as well, Jared, mainly really because of the durability. Like, Dak is a good quarterback. He showed that he can put up a bunch of numbers like he did last year, and he started as a rookie, so he's gonna blow Romo out of the water in terms of how many games he's played, which means his total stats are going to look far better than Romo's as well. And a lot of people are just going to look at that and say, he was the better quarterback. I'm sure there will still be fans that will say, eye test Romo better quarterback, but all the numbers are going to go Dak's way.
Plus coach, right? The head coach. I'd have loved to see what Romo would have done with Mike McCarthy as his coach. Romo had Jason Garrett, and I think we all realize Garrett's not that great of a head coach, average at best. Maybe an okay offensive coordinator. He did some good things with Dak in 2000 or with Romo in 2007, maybe helped him develop a little bit. But I think Mike McCarthy is certainly an upgrade over Jason Garrett. So Dak, I think, already is going to have the better head coach, which should help him have the better career.
At least I'm pretty confident saying Romo's broadcasting ability is probably better than Dak's, but I don't know. I guess we've never seen Dak in that capacity.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd lean Romo there too, though. I think Romo's pretty special in that area.
The only person better than Romo will end up being Peyton Manning.
You don't – wait, so I think Aikman's better than Romo. Do you not?
Oh, okay. No, well, yes. I'm talking about guys that are like in the league right now, or guys that we haven't seen do it before. But yeah, like Aikman for sure. I'm just kind of part of it. But I think Joe Buck's good too. I think the Fox broadcast is pretty fine.
Yeah, I think Buck's outstanding.
But
Yeah,
I think we're the minority on that. Like most people just like can't stand Joe Buck. I think Walchuk can't stand him.
well, I think what it was is when Aikman started, Aikman was a Cowboys homer. He was, and he caught flack for it. And I feel like maybe Joe Buck then had to go out of his way to go the other side. And I definitely heard Cowboys biased in him. Like he was very – I felt anytime they played an East Coast team, Giants, Redskins, Eagles, Buck seemed to, for whatever reason, favor the other team. So that's what kind of gave me a negative attitude towards Joe Buck. I think as Aikman has progressed, he's now extremely critical of the Cowboys, and we don't have that bias. And Buck is now more neutral, which I appreciate. I think Buck's great at what he does, but I do think that he was a little he seemed anti-Cowboy. I like Romo more than Aikman. I think Aikman's got the better voice. I don't think Romo has a great voice for broadcasting, but Romo's just fun. He just brings like an enjoyability factor. It's not like Troy's not having fun when he does it, but you can tell Troy's at work, right? Troy is, I'm here, I'm dissecting this X's and O's. Not that Romo's not doing it, but the way that he lays it out is just very fun. Like you're just hanging out like we are right now, talking with each other, yucking it up. Troy is doing his job, whereas Romo's kind of peeling back the curtain and we're just hanging out watching a football game with him.
All right, last one on Romo versus Aikman. I think both Aikman probably more so than Romo has expressed a desire to.
Gosh, be a professional here.
You know the class rules, you jackass.
Aikman has expressed a desire to maybe be a GM, and I think Romo's talked about being involved in every capacity in the NFL. But who do you think would make a better evaluator of talent?
Aikman.
Yeah, because of his time spent with Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jimmy probably taught him a lot. And I think Troy, I don't know. I just get that feeling like Troy knows what it takes. And in fairness, he does know what it takes. I mean, heck, how many quarterbacks can say they won 3 out of 4? Troy was the first to do it. And I know a lot of people, we've talked about this when we bring up who's the best quarterback in Cowboys history. Some people on the Autoflex Leasing fan text will completely ding on Troy and say he was carried by the team around him. I beg to differ. We had Tony Casillas on the show, and he said Troy Aikman, outside of Jimmy Johnson player-wise, Troy was the MJ of that Cowboys team of the 90s. He demanded perfection. He demanded the standard. I think as a GM, he'd be exceptional, and he knows what it takes to win a championship. As much as I love Tony Romo, he never got there.
And Jared, if you mentioned like Tony didn't maybe have the greatest of all work ethics we've ever seen, Troy absolutely did. And right. That's a factor as well.
Emmitt Smith, overrated, right, Eric?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so
you want to comment on that? Oh, you agree?
Gil Brandt agrees.
This is done. This is over.
Gil Brandt agrees.
Well, Gil, we got to have a talk, Gil.
Uh-oh. Cowboys ring on.
Talk, sir. Disrespectful.
Just so I don't get hate tweets my way, I don't necessarily think he's overrated, but Walchuk, that's like Walchuk's baby daddy, so.
Yeah, we just love cracking on Walchuk. I mean, he's wearing are you wearing your Emmitt Smith undies right now, Walchuk? I know you are.
I might be. I mean, look, I got my little Emmitt Smith shrine up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it? Am I showing it to you?
Oh, I see the triplets. Oh, there's Emmitt. Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dang, that's sharp. Autograph and everything.
Woo-hoo! Deuce.
Top 5 running back of all time.
Number 1, all-time leading rusher.
Don't know if he's the best all time.
I mean, there's nothing he didn't accomplish, Jared, so I don't know what you're trying to get at.
Literally nothing.
What about honest question, Eric, because I know Zach's answer. Would you take Barry or would you take Emmitt?
I would take Barry Sanders, absolutely.
Yeah,
you're wrong. It's okay.
That's good talk. All right, this is another week of just hanging with the Nosebleed Seats, doing this every week, every Wednesday. If you've got suggestions on what topics maybe you'd like us to cover, you can tweet any of us. You can also comment on the YouTube portion of this. Please like it or do whatever it takes to make us look better. We certainly would appreciate that. For the shirtless Eric and the very unpolite Zach for not really caring about us, Eric. I think
Maybe.
I'm the really ugly Jared Sandler signing off for another week of just hanging with the Nosebleed Seats.
Love you.